Okay, 'tis the season. 'Tis is beetle season. I don't know if you guys know that. This is when many species of beetles are coming into the house. The ants are coming in looking for water. The wasps are really, really highly activated because they are in the final throes of their life cycle. The bees are also in their final run to collect what they can for their winter time. So there's a lot of activity in the insectoid realm in fall, because this is when all the beings are preparing. Now I'm talking about in nature, beetles and insects, but as we know, just like we are stars inside of a human body, they too have origins in the stars that are in an exoskeleton body. Okay. They don't, the level of consciousness that they are holding within their exoskeleton is very, very different than what we are because of the DNA and all that stuff, right? Our DNA gives us a much more broader expression and experience, but the beetle DNA and the different insectoids, they are still a stellar expression within the physical. So when it comes to insectoids, it's really, really interesting when you start paying attention to your reaction to when they start coming into your world, whether they be wasp or spider or beetle or ant. Okay. It's really important to pay attention to what your body does when you come across them. If you kind of go into shriek mode, okay, I know this is going to sound, well, it's me, so everything I say is kind of crazy, but it's crazy but very real, right? So when you have a retraction reaction, when you have a big reaction to an insect, that reaction did not start in that moment. That reaction is a snowball of something that happened way, 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 way back when. And when I'm saying way back when, I'm talking about millions of years back in our evolution, if you were to look at it in a time space kind of way. The original embodiment for consciousness in the original universe was insectoid. Okay, it was an insectoid. And we, as a species, have a discombobulated relationship to that because of all of the galactic, intergalactic, and stellar trauma dramas that have happened with the exploration of power over dynamics. So when we come in contact with intense primal energies, very often our ego driver can't handle it. Our ego driver has to check out, okay? Or we just kind of like go in freak out mode and we don't really recognize anything other than our freak out. Okay. And this is where plant medicines can come in and help us here and there about that. Because these primal energies are also needing expression within our being as well. Our hindrances, our inhibitions are what siphon it off. Okay. So the coming of the reptilian DNA after the insectoid DNA, that was like the next upgrade. Okay, and then from the reptilian DNA started to evolve another kind of DNA, and this is where you get other beings like the aquatics. This is where you get the amphibians, where you get the bird tribes. You get these other DNA expressions, and eventually enough of the star consciousness, star elders, let's call them, came together and took DNA from all these different expressions of biosuits and put them together in such a way where it creates our particular combination, the humanoid. Okay. So the humanoid is extremely special because we are the closest thing so far that has been found of divine expression, true creatorship within a biosuit. And true creatorship is not something that happens when you're separate from something. It happens when you are one with something. And when you are in unification with something, what you create is something that serves all other parts of itself. Okay. We don't, when we're all interconnected with each other, we create something that brings more enrichment, more beauty, versus when we're creating stuff from being in disconnection, we create things that create more divide, create more separation. You see what I mean? And we're at this time of unification because these consciousness templates that are in our quantum field right now are profound, and they're like squeezing them. They're squeezing, calling themselves together. And it's quite literally squeezing the stuff of us in our subconscious that is invested in keeping that separation going. And making friends with the insectoids and journeying, and this is the main point here, journeying with the insectoids to their message, okay, that they have for us, is a fast track way, let's say, of reunification of those divides within. Okay. So the next time you see a beetle, next time you see, a wasp harassing you or whatever, take some time to meditate and connect with that insectoid consciousness and see where it takes you. It's going to take you to someplace where there's a division, and someplace where by just touching it with your awareness, with compassion, okay, and love, then you can start to melt that division, quite literally melt that division. And then that insectoid frequency gets released in how it was once in relationship with you, and it could come back in a different relationship. So this also goes for ET insectoids. There's a lot of demonization of ET insectoids. And the fact is, they're not all like that. There's as much division within the insectoid DNA as there is in human DNA. So to demonize them doesn't make sense because we too have it, right? So some of the friendly, I say friendly just because that's our relationship, that's my relationship with them. They have a lot of mystical qualities to them that are doorways for us to waking up beyond the galactic mind. They actually are, like, say, guardians or gatekeepers of doorways for us to expand our awareness beyond who we are as a galactic being and start going into the cosmic levels of who we are, then into the multiverse levels of who we are. Okay. So insectoids are an essential part of our awakening process. They are an essential part of that. To make them wrong is really shooting yourself in the foot. And if you're having big reactions to them, that's also an indication that you have unresolved drama in relationship to that energy. So here, I have another example on how this can play out. Oh, here, wait a minute. There's a bunch of comments. Let me go through some of the comments, and then I'll give my story in a minute. Okay, so going back to Lisa Marie. Yes, this woman, I thought I had a wound with contracted me the day after the Saturn energies, along with another woman. What do they have in common? Naturopathic medicine. Hello, Saturn. Woohoo! Yeah, right? Uh-huh. Dear Young Trick says, the paper wasps were so active in September here. Danny and I have owned our home for over 3 years, and this year they were significantly more active. I got a bite for the first time. Yeah. Oh, I got bit for the first time. Yeah, they are pretty hostile this time of year. Because if you're in the way of what they're trying to do, it's like they're doing it before they die, and they know it, and they have that kind of like fervor. They don't very impatient. And then Young Trick goes on to say, we never kill them. There have been 10 to 15 at a time in our house, but paper wasps are so docile in general. We just coexist with them. We're calm, they're calm. That's great. Young Trick goes on to say, I'm curious if there has been more insectoid energies lately. We never see them this active before. Yeah, so that's what I'm getting at, is that this consciousness template that's coming in, templates, plural, that's coming in, there's insectoids hold the keys for us to get into those deeper places that are hindering the unification of these consciousness templates that are coming in. Some of them may see it as the Christos Sophia dragon consciousness. Some of us might see it as the awakening of the great Nagi, which is the serpent people, that consciousness. And I don't mean Anunnaki, Draco. I don't mean the power of dynamic players. I mean the true organic, in harmonic with universal creational forces, that kind of consciousness. So we're going to identify it differently according to our relationship to the energy. Okay, but insectoids hold a key, a very important key to unraveling the resistances we have inside to allowing the unification.